Welcome to Mediocre Gaming, and today we're playing Helldivers 2. Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm Zarel. Let's get to it. So today we're talking about all things updated. But before we get to that, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, smash that subscribe button, and ring that bell to be notified of all future episodes as soon as they go live. So let's get into it. So there's a lot to get through and not a lot of time. One of the big things, of course, is that the Hell Pods, the exosuits, and of course the shuttle can all be reskinned. And that is in the Viper Commando War Bond that is new with the patch, but it's separate from the patch. Alright, first up we have the Rocket Sentry. It has decreased spread, prioritizes larger targets now, increases the targeting distance from 75 to 100 meters, decreases the salvos from 2 to 1. If you can't get them with 1, you're not going to get them with 2, basically. Explosion radius increased from 1 meter to 4 meters, so much larger. Decreased explosion armor penetration. Explosion can no longer damage heavy armor, but the projectile can, so you have to direct damage heavy armor units. You can't get them with splash damage. Increased projectile damage from 200 to 300. Machine Gun Sentry reduced cooldown from 180 to 120. The AMG-43 Machine Gun Sentry, AG-16 Gatling Sentry, AMLS-4X Rocket Sentry, AAC-8 Autocannon Sentry, Mortar Sentry, and EMS Mortar Sentry increased durability from 0% to 80%. So it's more durable than before, in theory. The HMG emplacement has increased rotation speed, so it's double what it was before. The anti-personnel minefield explosion damage is increased from 250 to 350. Incendiary mines explosion damage increased from 150 to 210. Orbital Gatling increased fire rate by 25%. Rounds per salvo increased from 30 to 60. Increased armor penetration can damage heavy armored enemies. Decreased cooldown from 80 seconds to 70 seconds. So the Orbital Gatling can do some damage against heavies, but it still cannot take out housing. So rogue research facilities and bot fabricators, don't even think about trying to use it against those. Orbital Precision Strike decreased cooldown from 100 seconds to 90 seconds. Decreased call-in time from 4 to 2 seconds. The Orbital Airburst Strike decreased cooldown from 120 to 100. Rocket Pods. Now this one's interesting. Improved targeting, increased armor penetration. Now it does 100% damage to heavily armored enemies instead of 50. Decreased projectile damage from 600 to 250. And decreased explosion armor penetration. So I think it's a net nerf. Eagle Strafing Run increased uses from 3 to 4. Increased armor penetration, can now damage heavily armored enemies. The GL-21 grenade launcher increased explosion damage from 350 to 400. The heavy machine gun increased projectile damage from 100 to 150. Increased projectile damage against durable body parts from 23% to 33%. Decreased fire rate from 450, 750, 900 to 450, 600, 750. Decreased reload time from 7 to 5.5 seconds. Increased stagger strength. Now the decreased fire rate should make it a little bit easier to control, especially if you are either kneeling or prone. The MG-43 machine gun decreased reload time from 4 to 3.5 seconds, increased maximum magazines from 3 to 4. The MG-43 machine gun Machine Gun Sentry, Gatling Sentry, and Exosuit 45 Patriot Gatling increased projectile damage from 80 to 90, increased projectile damage against durable body parts from 7.5 to 25%. AR-23 Liberator, M100 Stalwart, and AX AR-23 Guard Dog increased projectile damage against durable body parts from 20% to 23%. So durable body parts are anything basically that you can knock off of a robot or a Terminid, so one of the legs, etc. The AR-23C Liberator Concussive increased projectile damage against durable body parts from 23% to 35%. The Adjudicator BR-14 increased magazine capacity from 25 to 30, increased projectile damage against durable body parts from 10% to 20%. The AR-61 Tenderizer increased projectile damage from 60 to 95, decent bump. Increased damage against durable body parts from 10% to 17%, not very high. Decreased ammo capacity from 35 to 30. Decreased number of magazines from 10 to 8, and increased stagger strength. So Tenderizer does a little bit more damage, but you've got a lot less ammo. The PLAS 101 Purifier increased projectile armor penetration to be the same as the Explosion, decreased explosion damage fall off. The Explosive Crossbow increased explosion armor penetration to be the same as the projectile, increased demolition strength, so now it can close bug holes and destroy bot fabricators. Added medium penetration tag. The R36 Eruptor increased total damage from 420 to 570 damage per shot. Eruptor is a heavy hitter, but it is extremely, extremely slow, both to aim and to shoot. The R63 Diligence increased projectile damage against durable body parts from 10 to 25%. Some enemies have durable body parts that receive only a portion of base damage from projectiles. They updated recoil stance modifiers so that they're more consistent and reward being prone more often. Almost all of them will improve the recoil, and only 2 have been made worse, and only by 10%. So recoil is a big deal, and they're trying to have people kneel and go prone more often to get better recoil. They removed the AA Defense Mission modifier, which reduced your stratagem slot by 1 because they found that everyone was using the best stratagems, not the best stratagems for your playstyle. When you reduce it by 25%, it does kind of pigeonhole you. Disabled the Retrieve Essential Personnel Defend event for the time being. It's not fun enough for them. Super samples can now be found on difficulty 6 missions. The SEAF Artillery Stratagem is no longer blocked by stratagem jammers or ion storms, and it is still available after the mission countdown hits 0. So artillery stratagem actually becomes more valuable the longer you're in a mission. And if you come across the artillery after or towards the end of a mission, you don't say, well, we've only got 2 minutes. You say, oh, we've got 2 minutes plus to use the artillery. Enemies in melee range of the gates in high-value asset missions will now attack it more consistently. Added the ability to chat from in-game menus and mission loading screens. So now you can bring up that text chat. Updated some first-person crosshairs to improve readability, although a lot of weapons still shoot slightly down from the crosshairs. New armor passive, peak performance, plus 50% melee damage, and 30% weapon ergonomics. Some notes about hazards on planets. Spike plant that appear on certain have been reworked on certain planets. No longer causes bleed or stamina drain if hit by the explosions or spikes. Now pops 3 times, sending spikes everywhere, but it does increase damage. Fire tornadoes should harass you a little bit less. They shouldn't follow you as much. They should be a little bit more random. Tremors. Spawning has been tweaked, so you're not always going to be... It won't always spawn where you're at, causing you to slow down. Visibility has been reduced for the most part, or increased, I should say. The reduced visibility has been reduced. Unexploded hell bombs now explode immediately if they're hit with explosive or heavy firepower, and then will still be on a delay from smaller firepower. Vegetation that's large enough to slow a player will now also hide them from enemy units, and it stacks. Acid effect applied by hunters, bug mines, etc. will now allow you to sprint while under the effect, but it slows you by 30% instead of 50%, and it lasts 4 seconds instead of 3 seconds, so it's not as punishing as it was. There's not going to be as many heavy armored individuals on the higher difficulties, but you will find more medium and light armored. Patrol spawning's back to where it was with a tweak. If you're away from important targets, then you're more likely to come across them. Medium and large enemies don't get stunned as easily. Bile Titans and Nursing Spewers will now get slowed if they lose their leg. The spewing doesn't do as much damage, as well as the flamethrower from the Hulks don't do as much damage. You're at a maximum of 4 times per second taking damage versus instantly killing. The Bile Titan's head is slightly less durable, but does not always take damage, and that is a glitch. The spear targeting has been reworked and should work much better, but there is one glitch with it, which you'll find with bot fabricators, and that is supposed to be fixed later on. Now, there's still other problems and glitches that you'll find as you're playing, and hopefully those will be figured out very quickly. And otherwise, there's supply lines which you can see where the attacks are coming from and how the planets are connected. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to check us out on social media, and thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing, and we'll see you next time.
Extraction complete. Pelican 1 beginning ascent.
Victory was never in doubt. Affirmative.
PlayStation